Everyone knows the name Chernobyl. But what if I told you it wasn't the Soviet Union's only nuclear disaster? Or even the first? Decades before Chernobyl melted down in 1986, another Soviet nuclear catastrophe happened. It was just as dangerous, possibly more secretive. And almost no one outside Russia knew about it for years. This is the story of the Kyshtym disaster. The nuclear explosion the Soviet Union tried to erase from history. September 29, 1957. Deep in the Ural Mountains, a hidden nuclear facility called Mayak suffered a massive explosion. At the time, Mayak didn't even appear on Soviet maps. It was a top-secret weapons-grade plutonium production plant built after World War II. Nearby, a closed town named Chelyabinsk 40 housed thousands of workers. It was a city that officially didn't exist. That day, in a nuclear waste storage tank, the cooling system failed. The result? A chemical explosion releasing radioactive material over 20,000 square kilometers. It's still one of the worst nuclear disasters in history. Worse than Fukushima in some estimates. But unlike Chernobyl, no one was warned. No one was evacuated in time. And no one was allowed to talk about it. The Mayak complex was built in absolute secrecy in the late 1940s. The Soviet Union was desperate to catch up to the US in nuclear weapons. Safety wasn't the priority. Speed was. Waste from early plutonium production was dumped directly into the nearby Teka River. Local villages, unaware of the danger, used it for drinking, fishing, and bathing. Children played in the water. People began to get sick, but no one was told why. Some locals noticed soldiers in hazmat suits taking soil samples. Then came the livestock deaths and cancers. The Soviet government blamed it all on bad hygiene. Then, in 1957, everything exploded. Literally. One of Mayak's underground tanks held liquid radioactive waste. It was supposed to stay cool. But the cooling system failed, and the temperature rose unchecked. Suddenly, boom. A massive chemical explosion blew off a concrete lid weighing over 100 tons. A radioactive cloud shot nearly a mile into the air. The fallout contaminated the air, water, and soil across 3 Soviet regions. Villages up to 75 miles away were affected. But at first, residents weren't told anything. Instead of evacuating immediately, the Soviet government kept the disaster top secret. Entire towns were poisoned for days and weeks while officials monitored radiation in silence. It wasn't until 10 days later that evacuations began. And even then, they were done quietly, in the dead of night. No official explanation was ever given to residents. Some believed war had broken out. In total, over 10,000 people were evacuated. Thousands more stayed behind, unknowingly exposed to deadly radiation. The area most affected was called the East Ural Radioactive Trace, or EURT. But that term didn't appear in public documents for decades. Hospitals quietly treated radiation sickness. Death certificates were altered. Victims were sworn to secrecy. Some were sent to psychiatric wards for trying to speak out. The world remained in the dark for over 20 years. It wasn't until 1976, when Soviet biologist Boris Medvedev published findings in a British journal, that the West began to learn about the disaster. Even then, many scientists dismissed it as anti-Soviet propaganda. But slowly, former residents and declassified documents confirmed the truth. Estimates vary, but some reports suggest up to 200,000 people were exposed to dangerous radiation. To this day, parts of the region are still contaminated. The Teka River remains one of the most radioactive bodies of water on Earth. So how does Kyshtym compare to Chernobyl? In terms of radioactive release, Chernobyl was larger. But in terms of secrecy, Kyshtym was far worse. At least the world knew about Chernobyl. The Soviet Union spent decades denying Kyshtym even happened. Chernobyl led to global outrage. Kyshtym led to silence. Both were preventable. Both were the result of negligence, rushed engineering, and a government unwilling to admit failure. Chernobyl was the disaster that shocked the world. But Kyshtym? Kyshtym was the one they buried. Even today, many people living near Mayak have no idea they're in a radioactive zone. Children still play near contaminated rivers. Cancer rates remain high. And yet, the silence continues. This was Chernobyl's sister disaster. Not as famous, but just as deadly. And for years, no one was supposed to know. If you found this story eye-opening, hit like and subscribe for more hidden history and untold investigations. Comment below. Did you know about Kyshtym before this video?